Hello everyone. Listen to this sound. My name is Ardaas Singh. We are going to be talking today about sounds and the meaning of sounds. And I started this journey. I've always been interested in sound since I was a child, but I've been interested in this journey, especially since the time I had my first daughter. When Noah was born and she was very little, she had some digestion problems, and sometimes she would be crying for hours at night, especially in the evening, especially after 9, 10. It could go on until 1 a.m. or 2. And I was taking care of her during those hours. It was pretty hard for us, and I was like trying to gather all my patience and holding her and trying to help her calm down. And it was a big blow to my ego, because I had this Satnam Satya, hello, welcome. I had this ego of the yogi who thinks that, when you have a baby, you will be chanting Om and you will go to sleep. And if I chanted any mantra when she was in that state, she would cry even louder. So I realized, okay, all my aspirations as a yogi and father went crashing down. And it was a very humble experience to have to take care of the baby and not being able to soothe her. And eventually I found, I don't even know how I came upon this, but I found that if I was doing that sound, she would calm down. So, I would really, really soothe her. And I read a little bit about this. I don't know if it's true or not, but it is said that that's the sound of the blood flowing through the veins and the arteries in the belly of the mother when the baby is inside for all these 9 months, when the baby is more comfortable and quiet, hears all this sound, shh, shh, like the rushing of the blood. And so when the baby hears that sound, it's very comforting and very soothing. I don't know if that's true or not, but sounds have profound effects on us. There's something about sound that can transform us. And it's very funny. In that moment, I remember that as a father, one of the things I didn't want to do is to shut her up. Yeah, when you hear this, a child is crying and the mother or the father is like, "Shh, shut up," or "Stop crying, stop." Yeah, and as a yogi, I don't want to do that to her. Yeah, if she's crying, okay, can I soothe her? Can I help her? Can I comfort her in some way? But I didn't want to shush her. And yet, the only thing that would calm her down was that sound. So that was also very humble experience, and I realized there was something about that sound. So sounds have profound effects, and we in this channel we have other courses that I have been exploring. I am a mantra yogi, and I am a numerologist, and I have a course on mantra yoga where we explore how the sound affects different parts of the body and how we can chant to create an effect on that. And I talk a lot about this and about the sound and the power of sound. So I'm not going to repeat that. If you want to know more about that, you can go and check that one today. My idea is to explain a little bit what we are going to be doing in this new course, which is actually going to be much deeper than that one we did on sounds, going specifically to the English language and finding the sounds of the English language and how do those sounds affect our psycho-emotional state, mind and emotions, and our consciousness. And if you want to know more about how they affect the body, there is a universal chart that I explored in that course on how different sounds affect different areas of the body. And that's following the Sanskrit alphabet, which is the one we use for chanting mantras, but not for today. Today's course is not so focused on the yogic applications, but actually on the language itself. And my idea is to explore it from a numerological perspective, because those of you who have watched this channel, you know that I'm interested in numbers, and we will connect both. And the reason why we connect both is very important. Numbers are the language of the universe. Numbers are, you could say, the language of God, if you wish. Even before human beings existed, before this planet appeared in the cosmos, right at the very start of the cosmos, at the very beginning of this universe, there was numbers there. The moment everything started, the start was already number one. Yeah, when time started to move on, that was number two. When the three-dimensional space was created, that was number three. So the moment that, if you wish, God created the creation, if you want to call it like that, numbers were already there. So numbers are language, and numbers is the language of the divine, the first language, the original language, and a universal language. If we found ourselves now with an alien, we would be able to have something in common, which is numbers. We also talk sometimes about music and the effect of music, but music is also based on numbers. And I think it was Pythagoras and some other Greeks who realized that some frequencies would have some specific harmonic pleasing effect to us. And that's how the Western musical scales were created. So music is just is like one step after mathematics and numbers. And when I say mathematics, I don't really mean like equations and things like that, but just about the pure essence of numbers. If you want to know more about this, we have other courses in the channels on numbers. But today we will just go into how the sounds relate to numbers in some way. And it's not an easy thing to do. And actually, stepping into the unknown, and it's a scary place to try to create this connection because it hasn't been done before. And Shiv Charan talks a lot about numbers, but he hasn't done a very explicit connection with the sounds. He's done a few in his book as well, but he hasn't developed it too much. So I'm kind of trying to stepping into the unknown by doing this, and I risk regretting it later, maybe realizing I've bitten more than I could chew, and maybe years down the line when everything is more clear, I will say, well, how could I believe that that number was that sound and so on? It can happen, but somebody has to start, so I'm going to start with that. So let me explain a little bit about how we will explore sounds. First of all, phonemes are sounds, and we're going to be identifying every letter of the alphabet, the phoneme, the sound that it produces, what kind of words are associated with that sound, and see if we find some connection between those words. And we're going to realize that actually it is incredibly accurate how a certain sound will produce a certain effect. And this is actually also universal, but we're going to focus on the English language for a start, to start. We will possibly later be able to extrapolate a universal concept to this, but we will start with English language because it's easier to have some reference. Otherwise, if we just talk about sound, it's very abstract. It's hard to realize, okay, that sound is producing this effect. Well, you have to be very sensitive and, in a way, being in a very high state of consciousness and awareness, which is not easy to get. But we can easily get how many words which convey this meaning have this letter. So we can create some correlations in that way. And for this study, I'm going to follow the practice from this lovely book that I've been recommending a lot in the channel. And Margaret Magnus has a PhD. I've read that PhD partly, but I've been using AI also to help me parse through the PhD to find the interesting bits that I'm interested in for every sound. And I'm going to follow her idea. And one of the things that she suggests is do it yourself. Don't just read the book, but actually take a dictionary and figure out what she is doing. And so that's what I've been doing. In the summer, I spend many hours, hundreds of hours, searching through the dictionary. And the approach is going to be like this. We're going to take a phoneme today. The phoneme for today is sh. And we're going to explore monomorphemic words. That means words that are contain that sound and are not compound words. Like, for example, if you have submarine, there is the sub and there is marine. Yeah, there is like two different morphemes. We're going to take words that have only one morpheme, so they are simple. And we're going to start with words that start with that sound, because that's going to be easier. And actually, the shortest to start with, is good to find short words, because they will have very few letters. Because that's the thing, if you're going to explore the meaning of a sound, like sh, words have many sounds, generally have many letters, so the meanings get mixed up. And it's hard to isolate what's the meaning of this sound as opposed to this other sound, which is also in the same word. So if you find short words, it's easier first, or at least if it starts with that sound. Later on, you can figure out what happens when the sound is at the end or is in the middle. But we'll start with the sound at the beginning. So we will do that. We will take the English language. Occasionally, I may bring comments, especially from Spanish, because that's my mother tongue. Maybe other languages, but whatever we find is going to be universal, because we human beings, we're all sharing the same things in common, basically our brain. So the way the sound is going to be affecting our brain is going to be the same to all. It's just that the language is going to vary in very specific ways. And maybe we will make some comments on that. Sadnam, Isabel, hello, good to see you. Short connection is okay. You're very welcome, and you can watch the full video later, but you're welcome to stay as long as you can. So we will try to find universality of sound. I think, Isabel, you are French, so you're going to find maybe you will recognize those sounds in your own language and see how they connect. The next thing is the numbers. We will try to connect it to numbers, but we will also find how just taking an isolated number to a sound is also not easy, and there will be nuances we're going to have to talk about. We will do that. And also, exceptions happen. So I'm not going to say, this sound universally, absolutely for everyone, in every language is this meaning and this number. Sadnam, Latika, hello, welcome. It's good to see people connecting back after the summer and starting a new course. So very exciting. Oh, Tanya as well, hello, good to see you. You're all welcome to write in the chat and make comments when I'm speaking about the sounds. I'm just introducing the course and the methodology we're going to be using for the course, but I'm very excited. If you cannot notice, I'm very excited. It's a lovely topic that I've been researching, and I'm passionate about this. So exceptions are going to occur. There's going to be, we are, human beings, we are biased by ourselves, and sometimes we may create a new word, or we may give a name to a word according to our bias and not according to some universal feeling of those sounds. And yet, we will see that how many words share that. So how many words share this sound and have that particular meaning. In Polish, the sound sh is very present in the language. Looking forward to it. Yes, I did a presentation in Portugal here in the summer on this, and there was a few Polish people, and they were telling me about the sh sound as well. So interesting to figure out how it affects you. Satya, you will tell me in a minute when I go into the sh sound itself. So even if we find some meaning that is associated to the sh sound, you can always find a word that has that sound and doesn't share the meaning. Still, there's going to be a great percentage of words that are going to be aligned with this meaning. Yeah. And when I started this, it was kind of new to me to try to figure out the numbers. I have lots of notes for every letter in the English alphabet, every sound more than letter. And as I was advancing in my study of this, I realized one thing, which is that the production of the sound is extremely important. So how we make the sound has an incredible connection to the effect of that sound on us. We're going to go into that in just 1 minute. So the physical effect, we explore that in the other course, in the mantra course. The psycho-emotional effect, which is actually very strong because the amygdala is very connected to sound, is very sensitive to sound. This is what we're going to be focusing on. Amygdala is the part of the brain that is also connected to emotions. And so when amygdala triggers a lot with sounds, and that's why if there is like suddenly a crash, like a car crash, it's very disturbing and the whole system triggers like you have to survive. So the emotions are triggered to our innate system of survival, and it's going to trigger the fear response, which is very interesting because fear is number 6, and we're going to see that the sh in crash is connected to number 6. We're gonna explore this in a moment. But if we hear something else like a lullaby, yeah, that could be very soft and soothing. So there is a direct, which actually really direct avenue from sound to emotional state. And when I say really direct, I mean even bypasses some of the thinking parts. So the sound can go straight into producing a certain emotional effect, kind of from here to the amygdalas, which are very close, and not even go into the cortex. So a certain sound can start producing a certain effect on you, even without thinking about it, without understanding why, but it's creating that effect on you. So that's extremely interesting. And so, because it sounds, music also has that effect. Music can become very emotional, but not just music. Now, when we realize that different sounds have different effects, the words that we use, you're going to realize that they have an immediate effect on the psycho-emotional state of the other one, especially if the other one is very receptive to listening to you. So we're going to go into that. And then one more thing is like the language differences. So, for example, when my daughters speak both English and Spanish, and at home we speak indifferently, one or the other. And sometimes when they call me, they say Papa, and they want to talk to me and say Papa. But sometimes they call me Daddy, right? And interesting that they are referring to me. It's the same, they're calling me, but they are using the P sound, Papa, or the D sound, Daddy. And actually, they are calling a different side of me. So when they are calling me Papa, they are calling for the P energy of the father, and Daddy for the D energy of the father. We're going to go into the letters P and D and the sounds P and D later on, but just to say that they are calling a different quality of you. And actually, different languages will use different sounds for father, and it will have to do also with what kind of role does the father have in that society, which could vary greatly, and how are they calling you? What part of you are your children calling? So that's going to be interesting to explore as well. All right. So enough of the introduction. Let's talk about this shh sound. Yeah. So the first thing that created this silence. Yeah, my daughter fell asleep and she was very calm and relaxed. Yeah. So shh is linked to silence. Quite interesting. Yeah. If we check how we produce the sound, as I mentioned, the position of the mouth and the production of the sound is going to be very relevant. So we're gonna look at that in a moment. Tanya says, I'm Ukrainian, and when I speak English, I feel like a different person, even sometimes worried I'm not really me. Well, nice. Okay, Tanya, so I really recommend learning languages. And there is a reason for that, not just because we can speak with people from another country, but because when you learn another language, you start feeling differently, yeah? And you start thinking differently. And I think there were some studies that were done that showed some research that if you gave the same problem to a person, the same person, and tell the person, think about this in English or think about this in German, they would reach different conclusions. And I've actually experienced this myself. And even if I'm thinking of something like the soul. Soul sounds, in English, sounds kind of male quality, but in Spanish, alma sounds very female. So already you have kind of a different predisposition to talk about soul, whether you're thinking Spanish or English. So indeed, yeah, Tanya, when you learn English, you were opening yourself to feeling differently and to thinking differently. And actually, one of the things that happens is that you don't only just understand better the language of the people that you are learning, but also understand how they feel, and you can put yourself in their shoes. And that's how we create more empathy to be able to communicate with somebody. So it's not just about understanding the language, but it's actually feeling like them, thinking like them. And yeah, I remember the mood of Russian. I studied Russian for a few years in the university, and the teacher was telling me, like, Russian people are generally quite depressed, and they are thinking for, like, if things are going well, they are thinking, be careful because things could go wrong any minute, kind of like that attitude. I was studying Russian because I wanted to read Dostoevsky on the mother tongue. I never managed to. The department closed in the university and I couldn't continue. So I only did 2 years. But I remember the feeling of all those sounds. And I believe there was a lot of sound in it. And I know Ukrainian can be close to the Russian language as well. And so there can be that emotion of that language, of those sounds which are predominant in the language. The emotions that those sounds trigger are going to be more predominant in your culture. So that's interesting. Now, if sh is linked to silence as well, think of it like Satya, you were telling me you are Polish and there's a lot of sh sound. And I know Poland was like subjugated for many centuries, right? You were invaded left and right, yeah, from Russia and Prussia. And there was a feeling of oppression, even oppression, yeah, or like feeling of being oppressed. And when you're oppressed, you cannot speak up, so you are in silence. So that might be an interesting connection between the sh predominance in your language and being silent and not being able to speak. So that could be one way that we can see a connection. And now, whether that sh became more predominant because you were being oppressed, or they were able to oppress you because you were falling silent. I don't know what is, the egg or the chicken, what goes first, but there certainly could be a connection there. Latika says, Sri Aurobindo has mentioned each syllab's inherent meaning. The only one I don't intuitively feel is sh, variance, sha, vehemence in union. Sha is strong action in rest, and sa, repose and union. Yeah, Aurobindo was great. If you can find the source for that, I would love to read more from that. I remember reading from Aurobindo about the vowels and the semivowels, but I would love to have this bit that you are mentioning. If you can give me the reference, I would check it out. I'm interested. Okay, so sh produces silence, and we're going to find that because this is intuitive to us, yeah, and all babies feel it. If you do the sh sound, you evokes silence. That means that when somebody has to find a word, a new word for an expression for something new, the sh sound is going to be very tempting to use in that context. So if now we are approaching the part where I sparsed hundreds of words and explore how they connect. So if we look at monomorphemic words that start with a sh sound, and especially small words, then we find, for example, shush or shrine. A shrine is a place where you have to keep silent, right? It invokes the silence. Shade and shadow. Yeah. Is there something in the shadows? Shh. Silence. See if you can hear it. And a little bit of fear may creep, yeah? Which is number 6 again. And silence is number 6, yeah? It's 4 and 6. But we can see how it's very connected, the silence and the little bit of fear. Yeah, shrine can imply also faith, yeah, which is also number 6, yeah? Faith and fear, these are connected like that. But yeah, there's shadows. Yeah? A shroud. Shroud is connected to death, which is going into the shadow world, right? So there is also silence. Death is the greatest silence. So going into silence, yeah. A sheath, which is a way of making silent the sword. Yeah, the sword is, they say, like singing of the sword, yeah, when you're using it and you have to silence it. So that's like sheathing the sword. That's connected to death as well. And a shutdown, yeah? Shutting down, like shut. Shh. It closes, yeah, and goes into silence. You're speaking, shut up, yeah. Shh. You're into silence, and one word we use for that is hush, shh, yeah. But that one doesn't start with shh. That one is shh at the end. We will see what happens when the shh is at the end. Shun, shell, shut, sharp. Yes, good. Shut is closing. Yeah, shun. When you shun somebody, you want them to shut up. So you shut them up. And we will see about shell in a minute. Shavasana. Yes, Shavasana is the corpse pose, isn't it? Which is death, which is again a silent mode. And when we go into Shavasana, we want to be silent. And actually, relaxation is the deepest relaxation is in silence. Even though in yoga classes sometimes the teachers will put some music in relaxation, I try most of the time. I try to do it in silence because there's something about that silence, that Shavasana, you really feel like death, right? If you're listening to music, you are distracted and enjoying. But if in Shavasana, if you try to do it in full silence, that's interesting, yeah, to connect to that sh sound of the Shavasana. So sh is linked to silence, but what happens when the silence is broken? Now that's going to be also linked to the sh sound because it's about silence, but the silence is broken means if the word starts with sh and then there's something else, it means that first there was silence and then the silence may be broken. So like Latika, you were just saying sharp, a sharp sound, yeah, sharp something. Well, I mean the sharp can be also like sharp, like a sword, which is sharp, yeah, and cuts, like shuts down. It can also be like shutting down, but it can also be like a sharp sound which brings you out of silence. And you can find, like, for example, a shot, yeah, somebody shooting a gun, yeah, that also is like there is a silence and bam, and again it's going to trigger that fear, you see. So it's very connected to that. Somebody shouting, oh yeah, shout. A shell. Latika, you were saying shell. I was thinking about shell like an outer shell of the body, but I'm thinking about the other word of shell, which is like a cannon shell. That's also like an explosion. Yeah. Shh. So that's also like shutting the silence, yeah, breaking the silence. A shriek in the night, in the shadows, yeah. That breaks the silence and shatters the silence, yeah? And after that, you are in shock. Yeah, when you hear that, when you were in silence and there is a shriek in the shadows and it shatters the silence, and then you are in shock and shriveling, yeah, and your nerves get shattered, you see? So it's very interesting, yeah? There's how many of these words are connected. Now, if we had to take a word by itself alone, and we would look at the number of that word, it might not fall into the number 6. But when you explore it in this way, you realize that the sh and connection to silence is there. Of course, every word has many sounds. So if we are looking at shock, we have the sh and we have the k, right? So the shock. Yeah, from the silence to the K. We will see what the K is later on. I don't want to mix things up, but that's going to happen. Or the shred, yeah, shredding something, which is kind of making it into silence and making it death, right? And or when you are shrugging things off, yeah, there is a shriek. Who cares? I don't care. I shrug it off. Yeah, I shrug it off, which is like I stay in the silence and I just let it pass. But you see, it has different sounds. It has the R and it has the G. Shrug is different from when we are with the shell. Yeah, the shell has the L. So take all these words and they all start with a sh, and there is something in common. You can tell, as I'm explaining, hopefully I'm conveying that there is a connection with these words. And we know number 6 is connected to the fear, is connected to a surprise, is connected to shock, is connected to also sensitivity. And all these words are connecting to sensitivity in some way. Because when you're doing shh, everything is becoming more sensitive. Okay, so how is this sensitivity happening? Well, I mentioned that the way we produce the sound has an incredible effect on the meaning. Now, when you do shh, and Latika, you were mentioning other sounds from Sanskrit like s or sh. Yeah, there are different sounds. Now, the difference between s and sh, the sh sound, the s is more inside the mouth, it's behind the teeth, and there is more saliva in it. So saliva, which is a very watery element, is connected to the s. And we're going to see letter s probably next episode, the next video I will do on this course. I haven't decided fully the order of the letters that I should follow, but I decided first should be the sh, and I think the second will be s, would make sense because, like Latika was pointing out, this line of the Sanskrit alphabet, this is Sanskrit alphabet. There's the sibilants, yeah, sh, sa. So if I'm exploring the sh, which is at the very end of the alphabet. Yeah, these are compounds. So this is the very last line of the alphabet, and these are the sounds that are in the petals of the first chakra. So if we are looking at this one, it makes sense to look at S as well. And also because in the body, we're going to find that it's in the deepest part of the body because it's in the more outer part of the mouth, which is the instrument we use to produce sound. Yeah. If something brings forward a feature, it also brings forward its opposite. Yeah. If sh has the power to make us silent, also has its opposite. So shor in Hindi means loud noise. Yeah, I mean, this is very cool, huh? Okay. Sometimes we see man as opposite to woman. Well, actually, man and woman have much more in common than if you look man and pen, right? It doesn't look like the connection of the opposites of man and woman. Yeah, man and pen, how do you connect those? Well, you don't. They are actually much more different, man and pen, than man and woman. But when we look at man and woman, we think that they are really in extreme polar sides, one from each other. Well, in the same way, when we look at silence and loud noise, it feels so very different, but it's much more connected because they are talking about sound than if we look silence and I don't know, cloth, or if we look at silence and paper. I mean, how do you connect both, right? So yes, indeed, those two things, when they are in polar opposites of each other, are going to be much more connected than things that are not connected to one element, in this case, this axis of from silence to sound. So yeah, sh is both for silence and is for shriek, which breaks the silence. It's a lot of fun looking at words. I'm telling you, I've had a lovely summer exploring sounds. Okay, so I was saying that the letter S is much more inside the mouth and is much more watery. It has the saliva. When you go to the sh, we're going out of the mouth. And the mouth has to do sh, sh, sh. You have to put some pressure for the air to pass through. And it's not so much watery, it's much more airy. So there is air element. That's why we connect it also to number 6. Because 4 and 6, I'm not going to do an introduction on numbers. If you want to know more about numbers, we have another course on numbers. So you can check that out in the channel. But basically, number 5 is in the middle. 1 and 9, 2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 4 and 6 are connected to the 4th chakra, where the lungs are. Therefore, is air. Yeah, this is breathing. So 6 is connected to air, and the sh sound is outside of the mouth, and it's emphasizing the air. Now I mentioned The mouth is the instrument through which we do sounds, and is very different to do the g g g g sound, which is very guttural, right? Down in the throat, compared to the sh sound, which is out there, outside of the mouth already. So sounds go from the gutturals all the way to the sibilants. And out of the sibilants, the sh is the one that is more outside. And outside of the mouth, we have the lips. And this is right in the outer layer of the lips. And the lips are extremely sensitive parts of the body. This is one of the most sensitive areas of the body. If anybody has seen the homunculus, this little human, but every part of his body, it's greater or smaller according to how much area of your brain occupies. In the neocortex of the brain, we have the sensitivity of the skin. So the fingers are going to be much bigger than the elbows, because in the elbows we don't have much sensitivity, but in the fingers we do. Well, the lips of the homunculus are huge, very big. So the sh sound, which is passing air through this area, outer layer of the lips, is going to be connected to sensitivity. And that's why sh is going to make us sensitive. And we're going to fall silent and listen, because that is stimulating that sensitivity. So very interesting. So if the lips are connected to this sensitivity, and also, by the way, is the outer layer of the lips, but it's interesting, in the Sanskrit, is the outer layer of the Sanskrit. Let's say is in the very last layer. Yeah, the G sound I was mentioning before, the gutturals, k, g, they are in the throat. In the outer layer, not this one, these are compounds, yeah? The outer layer, we have these sibilants, these three, which are in the outside already. So this sensitivity, there's many words which are going to be starting with sh sound, and they are there to protect us, our sensitivity, to protect our sensitivity. So how interesting that we have so many words for the things that we put in the body on the outer layer of the body. Remember the lips, the outer layer, right? To protect the sensitivity of the body. So, for example, a sheet, or a sheath, or a shirt, or putting on some shoes, or shorts, or a shawl, or a shift. It was an old word for a dress, yeah, or something that is sheer. Sheer means transparent, yeah, kind of transparent, or even a shield. Yeah, all these little layers, like the shoes and the shirts, and they are layers of shields to protect the sensitivity that we have. So very interesting, huh? And because it's happening in the very outer layer, we will also find many sh words which are about changing what's happening in the outer layer, and changes that generally makes us more sensitive or protect that sensitivity. But in general, changes in the outer layer. So for example, the outer layer is the shape. So shaping something, yeah? When you are like playing with dough and you are shaping it, you are changing the layer of it. Or also sharpening, like sharp. I think it was Latika was mentioning the word sharp. That like when you sharpen a pencil, you change the outer layer. And also when we are shaving, to shave someone's beard is the outer layer of the skin, and it's actually going to change the sensitivity. Anybody who has tried shaving 40 days, not shaving 40 days, you realize it changes the sensitivity of the skin. And shampooing the hair, showering, yeah, shedding something out, or shearing, like the sheep when we cut their hair. That's all the wool, yeah. That's all happening in the outer layer. So like the sound is in the outside. All these words are connected to these things in the outside. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Something else is from the number 6, which is because we are sensitive people, and it's connected also. Number 6 is also connected because the heart is 4. Sorry, I'm trying to connect ideas. 4 and 6 are connected, and there is an aspect of 4 and 6 which is connected to love and intimacy. And because of this sensitivity that we have, some of these words, sh, are going to be linked to some kind of morality. It's linked to morality within us as humans. So interesting, I was finding a few words that connected, like a morality check. In the number 4, we talk about reality check, checking whether something is true or not. That's more about the number 4. In the number 6, we check the morality of something. Should I do something or should I not? And if I shouldn't do it, I'm going to feel, am I going to feel ashamed, shame, or am I going to shrug it off? Again, the shrugging, yeah? And if maybe somebody has done it, then somebody's going to shun you. Yeah, you remember that somebody else was saying shun Latika again. They shun you because you did something immoral. Yeah, so in the society, they're going to silence your voice. They don't want you, or they're going to shoo you. Go away from here, right? Now we're going to start also a few words which end in sh. You're going to be blush. You're going to blush if you feel you did something wrong, or you're going to be punished. That's with the sh at the very end. Yeah. So just one moment. Amazing. Sha has more air element. Sa has water because of saliva. Both elements have the ability to flow. Yes, people with the Sa name are more emotional because of the water element. Yeah, exactly. I think the morality is coming because of air element predominance. Yes, you're there on the spot. And you were talking about the name, yeah? So this is something that we can also explore. Why would we even be interested in sounds? Well, words have power. Sounds which create words have power. And so your name, that's probably one of the words that has more power in your life, because the way people call you are going to be affecting you constantly. The way somebody calls you every day, that's affecting your consciousness. And that's why some people don't like to be called whatever, Deborah. They want to be called Debbie, right? Or Margaret. It's going to be Maggie. Or they're going to take another part of the word, yeah? Catalina. Is she going to be, does she want to be like, does she like to be called Catalina? Or maybe Cathy? Or maybe Kat? Or maybe Lina? Right? So you choose ones because other sounds you don't like. Well, it's because sounds have effect. And the way people call you every day, you're listening to that sound and you know they are associating it to you. Now, you didn't choose that name, that your parents chose it, but that's affecting you every time. And that's also why that is very interesting when we do yoga and we adopt a spiritual name. So you can check what's the meaning of the sounds of your legal name, and then check the meaning of the sounds of your spiritual name and notice what has changed. And that's an interesting thing to do. I like to do that in general. Yeah, sometimes in the trainings I have somebody, they tell me their name and I explore what's the meaning of that sound, how does it make them feel. And after this course you will be able to check, Latika, there's the L, the T, and the K. What does that mean? Yeah, or Tanya, the T and the N. And how is this affecting me? Yeah, or do I like to be called Latika, or maybe I ask people to call me Lati? I don't know. Yeah, so or Tika, I don't know. So that's gonna be according to the sounds, and the meaning that we find in those sounds. Okay, so I've given plenty of examples already about this aspect of the sensitivity, and that brings us into silence, invoking silence, breaking the silence, protecting the sensitivity, morality, which is linked to sensitivity because we are sensitive people, so we impose morals so that we are not damaged from somebody else's actions. And all those things are linked to this shh sound, very connected to this number 6. And we explore a lot of words that start with the shh. At the end, I gave a few words that were ending in sh. But let me just say for a moment, what would be the difference between sh at the beginning or sh at the end? Well, clearly, if sh is connected to these meanings that we were talking about, like sensitivity and silence and morality and all that, could it be that in the word, the meaning of that word, when we put the sh at the end is because we want to end the word, we want it to end in that silence. So the word finishes, even finish, yeah, in that silence. Look, the very word finish means that something ends and there's nothing else afterward, right? So you want the silence at the end. Finish doesn't start with sh. It's not shifif, shinif. It's not shinif. It doesn't start with the silence. Finish ends with the silence because you are having something, f, yeah, n, yeah, something is happening and you want it to sh, silence, finish. Yeah. So you will see that some of the words that end in the sh, like being punished, punish. A punishment is something that should end something. You know, if somebody does something and somebody from a morality standpoint supposedly higher than the other one thinks, you did something wrong, you need to be punished. Why? Because they want to end that kind of action. So silence that kind of action. So punish, to finish that action, yeah? When we hush somebody, we told them to silence, literally hush, to bring into silence. I mentioned before a car crash. A car crash is not a shrug, it's a crash. Because it doesn't start from the silence. There's things happening, and the R sound is very fiery. We're going to find that there's a lot of fire in the R. So car, like a car, crash. You see? A car that ends in silence. That's a crash of a car. So crash. Yeah? Tanya says, Portuguese sounds to me like all the words end with sh. Really? No estou seguro. Yeah, it's funny. When I first started to speak Portuguese, I thought I had to be like a fish. And with sh, yeah? I felt like a cod. And put the mouth a little bit like that. A bit more like a fish. That was the way. There was something about the Portuguese language. If there is vowels at the end, sometimes they just cut them out. It's like they are running out of air or they are running out of steam. Yeah, and they speak chocolate instead of chocolate in Spanish, right? Chocolate. The T already has very little power and the E is already non-existent. Chocolate. Even though you write chocolate with the E at the end, you don't pronounce it like Spanish. Chocolate. You pronounce chocolate. So it's like closing off. Yeah, it's funny. So the sh at the end, yeah. When you smash something, yeah. When you squash or you bash something, yeah. So that's something that's going to end in silence. You see, it's different from your car gets hit or somebody hits you. No, you are squashed. Yeah, you are bashed to death. Yeah, so it's something that is led to the very end, to the silence at the very end. No, and that's why this. The very end. Another one. Perish, extinguish as well. Yeah, or vanish, which is a very deep diminish, vanish, extinguish, finish, perish. So you see, these are words which lead towards the silence at the end. So very, very significant. There's a few words which end in the sh sound, not in terms of silence, but in terms of sensitivity and intimacy, which are words which are quite loving as well, which is again connected to number 6. And that's cherish and nourish and flourish. Flowers are number 4 and 6. When it flourishes, somehow the beauty touches you and you fall into a silence, but it's more like a intimate and loving silence, more than silence like bashing in the head. Yeah, you can bash somebody in the face or you can help them flourish, right? So this is the connection. This is the carrot and the stick kind of approach. Yeah, and so you can inspire them or you can make them fear you, right? You can inspire them to move on, or you can make them fear you. That's connected to the 4 and the 6, and very, very much connected to the shh sound. So that's enough for today. I think that's at the very beginning of this course. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, by the way, just you can press like if you can. It helps for the YouTube algorithm. And if you haven't subscribed until now, feel free to subscribe and share this video. Thank you everyone for being here and everybody commenting on the online and the live video. That I really appreciate because it helps for the interaction to bring more stuff up. As you are commenting, I can comment your comments and it's more interactive, like Latika, yeah? I have always thought how a name begins is the power you have. So La, as Laya, I already have, yeah, Latika, yeah, La. But Ka is what I have to master or reach in this life. Ka is Martian energy action. So yeah, so it's from La to Ka. Yeah, that's quite interesting. We will see what that means. I already have some ideas. Theory number 2 is the sh in cherish is supplementing the ch. Oh yeah, the ch starts with the ch and ends with the sh. Yeah, that's interesting. We will look at the ch as well. At the beginning of the course, I have to be saying like, we will see this a little bit later, yeah, because I cannot start bringing all these sounds already because it could be confusing. But yeah, we will definitely go into the sounds, and ch particularly connects with a sh because it's like a T with a sh together. Ch. It's two phonemes together, actually, two sounds together. But this is what we will be doing in the course. If you don't want to miss it out, come back and tune in the next video. We will do it. And I'm going to be pretty regular doing these videos, not like the last months. I haven't posted that much. But thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all the members also to support the channel. And yeah, join me in the next one. Thank you, Sanam.